Hello everybody and welcome to another Transform Element review. My box is a bit battered, I don't often say that, it doesn't really stand, but today we're taking a look at the Interstellar Wasp Tiger, aka a T-Beast version of Bumblebee. Really excited for this one. Spin the box, look at that for a bolt. Basically this has been stuck in shipping limbo for some time. It's finally arrived. The figure itself was in top-notch condition. That's what's important. I think the Chinese shipping depot may have been using my box as a trampoline, but it's a box, so let's take a look at the figure. And here we have him out of his plastic prison. He's unique, isn't he? What a vibrant, gorgeous colour scheme he sports. He's not without his flaws. I'll cover those shortly, but at the same time, this is exactly how he comes out of the package. And I have the T-Beast or Generation Toys interpretation of Sideswipe. I still need to go back and get the Optimus Primal, but these two look absolutely amazing together, almost as if they were deliberately designed to scale, and they really do look fabulous. I love that kind of tiger head on the arm of Bumblebee, and he's sporting that hammer. The hammer itself is the part I have the biggest gripe with, but like I said, I'll cover that shortly. But absolutely adore these colors on him. He is very, very vibrant, and I honestly think it works really nicely. This guy was stuck in shipping limbo for so long. I was worried that he just wasn't going to turn up. I didn't get any instructions with him, so you'd have to excuse me if I plod along through the video and the transformation and I get steps incorrect in comparison to what you may get with the final product and ones that come with instructions. But all in all, he's a really nice looking figure. Straight in with a comparison with Sideswipe, they do look very nice, don't they? Bumblebee's short enough to be a scout, I guess, whereas Sideswipe's more likely warrior class, but really good. Again, really vibrant colors, enough of a hint that this is the character. We know that that's Sideswipe. We know that this is Bumblebee. He's got that kind of movie-esque mask on, which does flip back, revealing that very, that kind of generation-inspired Bumblebee style sculpt. Really reminds me of the old Generation versions of Bumblebee, but he's a really gorgeous looking piece. Really happy with him. TE are doing some exceptional pieces at the moment. They're touching lots of different markets. I think they're dipping their toes in and seeing what works and what doesn't, and I really hope they give us more of these T-Beasts, because they're having this in hand. It's a different quality to what we get with the Generation Toys line. The Generation Toys actually feels kind of cheaper. It's more of a powdery plastic. This is a very solid, robust piece. You'll know that if you have the likes of the TE Prime, what the company is capable of. Now, my biggest gripe is the hammer. It does not stay tabbed into this hand as nicely as I would have liked. The tab, I think, is a little bit too small, or the gap in the hand is a little bit too big, so it is a tad loose, but that's nothing that a little bit of kicky on there won't fix. But out of all of the recent figures that I've had, so I've had some various different bootlegs, like the 3A KO Bumblebee, the MP44. I've just had a load arrive today as well, Shockwave amongst them. This is the one I haven't put down. This is the one that I'll play around with. I'll play with him at the dinner table, much to my wife's dismay. He's a good action figure. Now, taking a look at the articulation, the head can look up, down, left, and right. We can bring the mask back over, slide that down, and again, we are limited a little bit more, but it's got that kind of very knight, medieval look to it. So we've got rotation on these shoulder sections, so we can move those out of the way so they don't hinder the articulation, which in itself is really nice. That's a gorgeous ratchet. We have a bicep rotation. We have not one, but two bends on those elbows. We have these pads here, which protect the inner arm section. I also use those to prop up the hammer for now, just because it kind of aids with it. We don't have any butterfly joints in there, but we do have a nice rotation on the waist, albeit very stiff. We do get a crunch forwards, but nothing going back. But do we really need an ab crunch going backwards? I don't think so, but it may be a deal breaker for some. Legs all the way forwards, all the way backwards, out to the side, some hindrance on this leg section here. There is an upper thigh rotation. We get a deep bend on that knee. Again, when we bend that knee though, this isn't the most natural of looking pieces, but it's very natural when we bend it back, and we get some pivot on these feet, and we get the heels that can come down if you want to adjust those heel spurs, but that's pretty much what we get. So we get pivot left and right, and we get some up and down, but it's enough because he's a solid figure that he will hold pretty much any pose. Now I know we could have done with a butterfly joint there to get him kind of right round for Iron Man kind of superhero landing poses, but as he stands, having this kind of armor on him makes him look very stoic. Really does remind me of a medieval knight. And again, another kind of funky look that I like to have for him. I like to split up the hammer. You can bring the tail down almost like a shoulder whip, and then the thrusters can just tab on. You've got multiple tabbing points. You've got one here, or you can have it tabbed on the underside here. They can just slide in like so, but I like having those tabbed in at the top. So we've got these kind of thrusters just sitting over the top of his shoulders. That is my personal preference, how I have him displayed. Right now, to get him transformed up, we need to make sure the head mask is back. Come down to these arms, and just holding this section here, you want to just pull this piece away. The panel is going to come down. Now the hands only move around in one direction. You can't push it this way. You need to go all the way around, so it's upside down at this point. This arm is then going to flip down like so, and if we come around to the back of the arm, make sure that the fingers are all extended like so, because these are going to come and they're going to sit in that groove piece at the back of the elbow. This is then going to come and push and tab back in, and then we can just bring the paws down to the front. Rotate the legs at that knee joint, and again at that knee joint, and then push and have that come up to that angle. So again, push and have that come up. This panel here is then going to open, and this part here is then going to rotate all the way around. And then from here, if we look, we need to slide this foot down, making sure this is nice and square in there, and then that's going to push and tab in. See, I've got a couple of little marks on here. That's the downside, I guess, of getting a sample passed from reviewer to reviewer. Slide these sections out onto this outer hinge like so. If they haven't already come down, gravity usually takes effect here, and these will just come down anywhere, and the toes just sit at the bottom. Come around to the back. We want to remove those jet thrusters if you've got them attached, and these sections here are going to open up and come down, and this is where we get some origami action coming in. These are a little bit more difficult to get, but they do pull down, and this one pulls down. Move the head out of the way, because this section here is going to come down, this is going to come up, these are going to rotate, and this is going to come into this void. So make sure everything's clear, and that's just going to come in like so, and in like so. This is on a rotating hinge. That's just going to rotate around like so. We have a sliding panel here which allows the chest to come all the way up, and we have these little panels on the underside here. They are incredibly difficult to get, so I highly recommend you get a tool. I used a pair of tweezers to do mine. I just couldn't get it to function correctly. Otherwise, right, this section here is going to come all the way down, and making sure that this piece here is completely parallel. That's going to slide down into that void, and this will come in, and that should, he says, push and cover off that back tail end. These can then come up and push down, come up and push down. This is then going to close off. So we just rock this panel back like so, and again rock this panel back, and that should just push and tab in. We can then move this leg around, move this leg around, and then move this down and move this down. Make sure everything is tabbed in as it should be. And here we have him fully transformed up into his beast mode. It's a very nice feline look. I think it works quite well. It's no worse than something that we got from the Perfect Effects Leonidas, I don't think. I've got his tail a little bit sideways there. I should really have that up and down as opposed to kind of bent over like that. But again, it is a really nice looking figure. I actually really like the beast mode, and I think it actually could work a little bit better than Sideswipe's bull mode. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, this is very poseable. We've got lots of articulation in the tiger neck as well, so we can get a really striking kind of growl going on. Lots of different angles available for those arms, and he holds together remarkably well. There's no moving him. He'll stay in that pose until we decide otherwise, and of course we still get to use that abdominal crunch as well, so we get a nice arch on that tiger back. I've made use of the tail, made use of the jet thrusters as well. All in all, very good looking T-Beast in my opinion. Love the motion that we've got on the head there. We can go up and we can go down. We do get hindered somewhat by the Bumblebee mask and the fact this is on this single pin, but I think there's enough range there to get a lot of expression. It's almost a bear-like head on there, isn't it? Maybe that's something that I've kind of overlooked, being a little bit love-struck with this. But still got that motion on the arm, still got the rotation there, still got the bend, so we can get a nice wide stance because we have the pivot on the claws. We do get that crunch on the underside of the legs. The waist does still come down, but the idea I think is to have that up and then tabbed into this panel piece here. This is going to rotate, so we've got upwards, 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 and we can curl that right the way over if needed. So we've got kind of a laser on the top of those legs. These come out as well, they're ratcheted, so we've got rotation in there. There's a really nice kind of feline curvature to those hind legs as well. Now I know that the rocket thrusters aren't for everybody, but I like how they look. Like I said, this is one of the ones I haven't put down. He's a very kind of fun figure to mess around with. There's enough rotation on the inside joint on that crunch as well to get a kind of arch and bend to him, almost Ravage-like. I think they've done a really sterling job. What do you guys think? Is this something that interests you? Are you a T-Beast fan? I love the original artwork. There's a book, I think, dedicated just to T-Beasts as well, which I think is sensational. I like him, possibly like him more than Sideswipe. I think he's built of a slightly better plastic consistency, but that's my personal opinion. Both are really good figures. Still need to get the Prime, like I said, but I'm really looking forward to seeing other versions of T-Beasts arriving in Transformers collections soon. Hopefully this is the start of a beautiful friendship between the Transformers community and these T-Beasts. Thanks again to TF Direct for making this review possible. I have included a link in the description below where this can be purchased, and I'd like to thank each and every one of my Patreon supporters as well, because without you this channel would not be able to function the way that it does. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. From myself and the rest of the Collectables household, thank you all for watching. Goodbye.